What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new video. In today's video, I am going to be doing my review of The Boys Season 5, Episode 1 and 2. I'm going to break this video up into two parts. We're going to do the first episode first, obviously, the second episode second. And yeah, I'm very excited. I have tons of thoughts. I can't wait to get into it with you guys. And so yeah, let's not waste any more time and let's do it. Alrighty, so obviously we're going to start with Episode 1. And my overall thoughts of this episode: this could possibly have been the best episode of The Boys ever. This episode had everything I was looking for in a finale to the show. And they delivered on the first fucking episode. The first episode of the season. And it felt like a fucking finale. It was fantastic. It had everything you wanted. It had action. It had good character moments and you know, good payoffs to characters. It had a huge death, which we'll get into. It just was great. Everything about it was perfect. It reintroduced us to all these characters nicely, and it was just everything you could want out of an episode of The Boys. Out of a finale episode, like I said. But as a first episode, incredible. 10 out of 10 episode for me. I fucking loved this episode. So we'll get into it. So the season starts off with Hughie, Mother's Milk, and Frenchie all stuck in these internment camps, these Homelander internment camps. And you know, Homelander is giving this speech, or like a presser, like a press conference type of thing. And Starlight is breaking into this press conference, and she releases the video of Flight 97, was it? I forgot, 37, something like that. Essentially, the video of when Homelander let everybody on that plane die, right? And she finally released it, and everybody saw it. And you almost see Homelander snap, his eyes go red, and he's about to, but then Sister Sage stops him. So that's how it opens up. We get reintroduced to Butcher. He's visiting his dad, and we presumably he kills him. You know, we meet Kimiko, who can finally talk. She can talk full sentences, which is awesome to see. It's so refreshing that, you know, that she can actually finally speak. It's been a year after season 4. So they've been on the run for a while, right? So we got that. You know, again, we meet Mother's Milk and everything. He's been fighting in prison. You know, Hughie, he's grown to be a little bit of a hard ass in some ways. You know, he saves Frenchie from almost getting killed by, like, he pushes this guy over. That's something, you know, Hughie's never really been a physical guy like that, right? You know, we meet A-Train again. He's pretty much fully redeemed himself. He's worked back his relationship with his brother, you know, and then you got, like, Deep and Noir, they're doing their same shit. And Starlight, she has become more of a hard ass than ever. She's becoming just like Butcher. You know, she just isn't afraid to take a life. She isn't afraid to sacrifice her friends' lives to save the mission. And she's fully okay with killing herself to save the world, you know. So a lot of things, you know, the world is in a dark state, obviously. But I think where the real juice and the meat of this episode is the final, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes of the episode, you know, at the internment camp. So essentially, Butcher, Kimiko, and Starlight come up with a plan to break the boys out of this internment camp. And it all goes south. Homelander shows up. We get, you know, Mother's Milk versus Love Sausage. If you know, you know. They see them beat the shit out of each other. You get a little bit of Homelander versus Butcher. They just gave us a little tease of it, which is awesome. Obviously, then you get the whole A-Train sequence where he runs through the internment camp and saves Huey's life right as fucking Homelander's about to kill him. You know, so much that happens at the end of this episode. So many awesome sequences. We get to see Butcher use his powers against the bald-headed chick Soup. And he throws her through the building and lifts her up onto the roof. It's so awesome. Such awesome sequences there. And then obviously the episode culminates and ends with the death of A-Train. The death of A-Train. A-Train gets killed in the first episode at the very, very end. I could not believe it. I was in shock. I was like, everybody knew he was going to die this season. Like, you saw it coming from a mile away. There was just no shot he wasn't. But I did not think it was going to happen in the first episode. And I'm very glad that, unlike another fucking show, this show actually has the balls to kill off important characters, you know? And to do it in the first episode was ballsy, but it worked. You know, A-Train's arc in a way was complete, you know. He had his full arc. He went from being this piece of shit asshole in the 7 to fully redeeming himself. He worked out his relationship with his brother, and he gets his full circle moment when he's being chased by Homelander in a fucking awesome sequence. Homelander's just flying through the woods, busting through all the trees, lasering at his feet. You know, A-Train's outrunning him for a while, but then a girl steps in the middle of the street, and we think it's going to be like season 1, he's going to smash right through her. But nope, this is the new A-Train. He dives around her because he doesn't want to hurt her, and that's what gets him killed. He tumbles into the woods, Homelander picks him up and snaps his neck, and that ends the episode. And I gotta be honest, I was emotional about it. You know, I felt bad, man. A-Train's become one of my favorite characters, especially after season 4. You know, seeing him kick the Deep's ass in the apartment building or whatever. It was, you know, finally seeing his full turn. We definitely, I thought, could have used a bit more of him in this season. I think they could have left him alive to maybe like episode 3. But I understand why they killed him, and I can appreciate that. And it was ballsy, which I appreciate. I appreciate that they have the balls to do shit like that, you know. So yeah, man, this episode just delivered on every front. We even got some new characters in there. I don't know their names quite yet, but you got the chick Ashley Ashley is married to, who's like a pastor type of superhero, and he has like sonic boom, kind of like Black Canary's powers, where he can you know, he's got like supersonic a voice, I suppose. Is that what you want to call it? So he's a new character. Nothing really too interesting from him. He's just kind of there. And then we meet, I forget what his name is again. He's the worm guy who's got a nasty power. He can just fucking eat dirt and it shoots out of his ass. It's so gross. So nothing too crazy in terms of the new characters. Obviously, again, we got to see Butcher use his powers, which is fucking awesome. We get to really kind of see what they're fully about more than just, you know, at the end of episode, or at the end of the season 4, you know, we really saw him for a second. And yeah, man, this episode, again, was just a full package. It was great. So many funny moments, too, with Homelander talking to Sister Sage, and he's complaining and crying about memes and shit. He's being the big man-child that we always know him to be. It was just a perfect episode, man. It was a fantastic way to start off a season, and then just great, dude. They nailed it. Honestly, hats off to them, man. They nailed it. It was just fantastic. That's all I can say. It was amazing. So like I said, episode 1 for me, man, gets a 10 out of 10. Perfect. Now let's move on to episode 2. All right, so starting with episode 2, which I also thought was a really good episode. It wasn't as good as the first episode, but I'd give episode 2 probably an 8.5 or a 9 out of 10. You know, it wasn't quite as good as the first episode, but it was still a great episode. Obviously, we get the return of fucking Soldier Boy, my favorite character in the entire show. He's back, which is so hyped. I'm so happy to see him return. He's just as funny as ever. One of my complaints though with him is he is a lapdog to Homelander, and to me that just doesn't necessarily feel right. That he's a lapdog to Homelander. That's just not Soldier Boy. I don't get that vibe from him that he would just be a lapdog to his son. You know what I mean? He should be the main guy, and Homelander should be taking orders from him, or they should be working together. The fact that Homelander is like, oh, you know, go out, find me Butcher, and then you can be number 2 in the 7, and he's like, okay. Like, that was a bit, that's just not Soldier Boy. He's just not like that, you know? But it's cool. We get to see him and Butcher have a little bit of a fight. You know, he's about to use his power on Butcher, and Butcher throws the fucking car at him, and then that will forever be an iconic scene now in this show. He's like, if you can't beat him, join him, then fucking beat him. And he throws the car at him, just fucking awesome. We get another 2 more new characters. We get the I think here's the Countess, I think her name is, or the Countess of Crows or something like that. She's part of like Teenage Kicks, and she lives in their like frat house or whatever. And you know, she gets a little bit of it. She'll definitely be in Gen V season 3. I have no doubt in my mind about that. But we get a little bit of character development with her. We find out, you know, that Vought is just taking 60% of her earnings, and they're kind of forcing her to do this. And she's on all these depression meds, and she misses her family, and they were going to kill her because they found out that they were going to use the serum, or again the virus on this other suit. I forget his name, but he's a gigantic rock man, and he's nearly as strong and as impenetrable as Homelander. So they were going to test it out on him because they had to see if it would work on a strong suit like Homelander. And she found out what they were doing, and they were going to kill her, but and her have a very special moment, which I actually liked, where he sits down and he talks to her and he lets her go. But then, yeah, obviously he uses the serum. It kills the Rock Man, and it nearly kills Soldier Boy. We see him sit up at the end of the episode, obviously, in the chair. But it nearly fucking kills him. And for a second, I thought he was going to die, but then I remembered we see him way more in the trailer. So yeah, that was cool to see. Fucking him so vulnerable. We haven't seen him like that really. And then obviously we got the other two new characters, the fucking cat bitch and the dude who can fly or whatever. That was stupid. The only thing memorable that came out of that was when the guy who could fly, he took Huey into the air, which I will admit the CGI looked pretty bad. He like flies him up into the air and he drops him, and Starlight flies in and saves him. It just looked bad. It looked cheap. I can definitely understand what they were talking about when he said they don't have that Game of Thrones budget, but it was fine for what it was. But again, it just looked, you could tell it was CG and just a green screen or whatever. But it was still cool though to see that. Again, a lot of character stuff. You know, the relationships really, they start to get back intact. You know, you get Huey and Starlight, they kind of start to patch things up a little bit. You know, Kimiko and Frenchie, they really patch things up. They're like madly in love. They can't stop hooking up. You know, and then so like again, this was a very character centric episode, which I was fine with after the amount of action we got in the first episode. We still, again, like I said, we still get some good action in here. We get, like, you know, Soldier Boy chasing Butcher through the streets of the, like, in the neighborhood or whatever. And so, yeah, it was an entertaining episode, but a very, again, character-heavy episode. It really felt satisfying seeing all these characters reunite after a year and seeing them come back together and seeing how they've changed. And, you know, Huey sees a kind of a side of Starlight that he doesn't like, and he talks to her, and she's just really beaten down, battered, depressed. She's smoking, and she's a mess. And Huey is kind of that rock that has to hold her together this time, when typically it's kind of the other way around. Usually it's Huey who's kind of a mess, and it's Starlight who has to keep that you know, that straight, narrow attitude and keep them together. But this time it's Huey, and he says it to her in a great scene. He's like, you know, if you can't fight, I'm just gonna have to fight for the both of us. And that's such a, it's so powerful, because again, he's not even a soup, she is, but he has to do it because she's just so emotionally battered after this year of being on the run and everything. And it's just, again, the character stuff in this episode was fantastic. And just, like I said, fantastic first two episodes. So, yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy this review of the first two episodes of The Boys Season 5. From here on, I won't be making videos talking about each episode. I'll just be doing, like, a short on YouTube about, you know, every episode that comes out from now until May 20th. So, yeah, let me know what you guys thought of the first two episodes down in the comment section below. If you guys did enjoy, make sure to drop a like, rate, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.